Every single day I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve. This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have.
On November 5th, 2024, Donald Trump returned to the White House as the 47th President of the United States. Not just a win, but a landslide victory. Trump's unapologetic America First policies are back, and this time, the world is watching closer than ever. But here's the question no one is asking. How will this affect Africa? From reshaped trade deals to potential cuts in military aid to migration, Trump's policies might just create ripple effects that go far beyond US borders and could forever alter Africa's economic and political landscape. Let's dive into what Trump's victory means for Africa. As Trump settles back into the Oval Office, his America First stance remains unchanged, and with it comes a wave of economic policies designed to protect American industries at all costs.
We're going to make you very happy. We're going to make you very proud of your vote. I hope that you're going to be looking back someday and say that was one of the truly important moments of my life when I voted for this group of people beyond the president, this group of great people.
Trump has already announced plans for significant tariffs on imports, and while his primary focus might be China, African exporters may also feel the pinch. One key example is Africa's reliance on trade relationships with the United States. According to the African Growth and Opportunity Act (AGOA), African nations can export certain goods to the US tariff-free, an agreement that generated approximately $13 billion in exports in 2021 alone. However, if Trump's administration reevaluates or reduces AGOA benefits, African countries like Kenya, Ghana, and Ethiopia could lose critical revenue sources that sustain jobs and growth in their economies. Trump floated a potential 10% across-the-board import tax early in his campaign. While seemingly minor, this could disrupt key exports, particularly in sectors like textiles and agriculture, where African nations such as Lesotho and Ghana heavily depend on US markets. With rising prices, demand could decline, placing additional stress on African producers who rely on these export chains. Moreover, Trump's policies also advocate for friendshoring, relocalizing supply chains to countries that share US interests. If US manufacturing shifts to allies or neighboring countries, African economies which provide raw material and manufactured goods could be excluded from US supply chains altogether. This change could prompt Africa to rely more heavily on other global powers like China and the EU, reshaping its trade dependencies. And it's not just about exports. Trump's previous term saw efforts to renegotiate trade deals, making it clear that his administration would always prioritize US interests. If Trump chooses to renegotiate AGOA or even impose tighter restrictions, Africa's strategic partners might need to look elsewhere, potentially strengthening relationships with China. But what about investment? Data from the US Trade and Development Agency shows that the US is one of Africa's largest investors in energy and infrastructure projects, with billions of dollars flowing annually. But Trump's isolationist approach, coupled with a focus on domestic spending, may threaten future investments in African economies. A shift in American policy could mean fewer opportunities for development, stalled infrastructure projects, and increased pressure on African governments to seek foreign aid elsewhere. To make things more complicated, the global financial landscape is volatile, with inflation and high interest rates affecting every continent. In this environment, Africa's dollar-denominated debt, a substantial burden for many nations, could become even harder to manage if the US dollar remains strong. Spurring domestic growth could further strengthen the dollar, increasing debt repayment costs for African nations already strained by pandemic recovery efforts. Trump's return to the White House could send shockwaves through Africa's economic landscape. Trade restrictions, decreased investments, and increased borrowing costs could mean African nations face tough decisions ahead. Either way, Africa is poised to experience a profound shift in its economic dynamics under Trump's second term. Trump's return could have far-reaching effects on African migration patterns, not only to the United States, but also on how African migrants are treated globally. Trump's stand on immigration has always been stringent, and he is likely to reintroduce policies that reduce visa availability, increase deportations, and place more scrutiny on refugees seeking asylum. During his previous term, Trump's administration implemented travel bans, including restrictions targeting African nations like Nigeria, Eritrea, and Sudan, which disrupted families and limited educational and work opportunities. The economic impacts are also significant. Remittances from African migrants in the U.S. contribute billions to African economies. In 2022, for example, Nigerian migrants sent home over $20 billion, supporting families and local businesses, according to a report by World Bank in 2023. Reduced migration to the U.S. could hinder these financial flows, increasing economic strain for families in countries with high poverty levels. Trump's policies could also influence African migrants' routes and destinations, pushing them toward Europe or other regions. With stricter U.S. visa requirements, more African migrants may attempt the dangerous journey across the Mediterranean. This has implications for EU-Africa relations, as European nations may seek stronger agreements with African governments to curb migration. For African migrants, limited access to the U.S. means fewer opportunities for education, employment, and safety. As Africa faces these intersecting challenges, its leaders may need to seek out new partnerships, adapt new policies, and work collectively to navigate an uncertain global landscape.